Someone asked me, "Hey Jared, why don't you share the story of the Great Flood?" So let's give it a shot, hey? Banana, banana, the Great Flood story. Now this one is one of the oldest stories we have. It goes way back, and it's kind of in two halves. Okay, I've got two halves, and I've probably heard 3 versions, maybe 4 versions. Okay, so here's the one I want to share with you today. So back in a time before humans were here, there were animals and trees and the ocean, and there was Quw'utsun. Quw'utsun is not the creator, but he's close. He's what we call the transformer. He can change anything into anything else, and he likes to be kind of like a trickster. That's Quw'utsun, okay? Now Quw'utsun was here, and he asked for all the animals to come together on the edge of the ocean down here. All of them come together. He got all of the eagles, all the ravens, come down, everybody together. All of the creatures of the earth, the Quw'utsun and the Spath, all together, and all of the ocean creatures and everything together, brought everybody together. And he said, "I have a question." He says, "Which one of you can hold your head and hold every other creature on you in the water for a long time? How long can you swim with weight on you in the water?" So all the animals jump in the water and they try swimming, and Quw'utsun is watching and he's looking around and he's waiting, and they're swimming, and out leaves the eagle, and other animals have to go back underwater, and eventually the elk gets tired and they're all out. And he says, "Is there nobody who can swim in there for longer?" And they all look at each other and say, "Not with anything on our backs." And eventually he hears a little tiny voice way off and behind him. He hears it. It says, "I can do it." And he looks back, and there's nothing to see there. And he looks, and it's a little wachas, a little frog. "I can do it." And it jumps in that water and it swims no problem, and it can hold weight on its back no problem. And he says, "Okay, you're the one who's going to rescue us all from the flood." "The flood?" And he says, "Yes, a great flood will come, and you will be the one to rescue us all from the flood." He looks happy, frog, okay? And he transforms the frog into a giant mountain named Peep Palm. Peep Palm is this giant frog that is a mountain, okay? Now that's the first half that I've heard, okay? And then the other half is this: many generations later, humans have arrived and they've changed the world around them. And 2 of our first ancestors, siiye'yu and Quw'utsun, were heads of villages. And in this legend, siiye'yu is the head of Amanut village, which exists at the lower levels of Swakas mountain. Okay, and Quw'utsun is the head of Quw'utsun village on the edge of the river. Okay, and they have a vision on their own. They have a vision. Oh, there's gonna be a flood. Oh, they're afraid. Oh, and in siiye'yu's vision, he has to go up Swakas, and in Quw'utsun's vision, he has to go up a palm, and he does. And so they come together, and they're arguing. "Oh no, brother, we need to go up this mountain, that one over there." And this brother says, "No, brother, this mountain, we need to rescue each other on these mountains." Says, "No, brother, this one's higher. No, brother, this one's in the vision." Back and forth arguing. And then they say, "It's okay. You and yours go that way. Me and the ones I have, we will go this way." And so they do. And as Quw'utsun's walking up the mountain, he sees the animals on their way up the mountain too. He sees the elk and the yahwala come down and all the other animals on their way up onto the mountain. And they're on the mountain and they're watching as it rains, and the rain is raising the ocean. The ocean goes up the river turns into ocean. All the hills become islands, and they're watching the water come up. It's raining so hard. And they look across and they see Swakas, and they see siiye'yu and all of the villagers from Samana on their way up Swakas mountain. And as he's walking up the mountain, siiye'yu realizes what happens if the water comes up and up and up and up and goes higher than the top of Swakas mountain. And so he orders half of his villagers to get all of their canoes, all the ones on the edge, as the water's coming up. Hold them there, hold them on the way up the mountain. And the other half, you have to go weave a rope as wide as your leg and long as you can out of tsach, or stinging nettles. And they weave this rope, and the other ones haul up the canoes all the way up to the top. And at the very top of Swakas, there's a rock. It's massive cement, big rock. And they wrap their rope around it, and it forms into this giant anchor for all of their canoes. And they weave the rope through the canoes just in the nick of time as the water lifts up over top of Swakas mountain. And they're in their canoes, and they're anchored onto the mountain as the water rages and the waves roll by and the rains rain for 4 days. Everything is underwater. As that's happening, they look over and they see the entire mountain of peat palm swimming on the ocean and floating, all the animals on it, all the humans on it, as it moves like a giant frog through the ocean waves, holding everything on it. And for 4 days it rains and it winds and cloudy and cold. But the ones on top of Swakas and on top of peat palm, they survive. And the water slowly recedes after those 4 days. And the water gets lower and lower down the mountains and widens out into the valleys and the islands again that are the tops of the hills, and then all the way down into the river valleys and back to the ocean. And eventually all the land is returned, and they walk down the mountains into their old villages that have all been washed away, and they all have to restart all of their villages. So they say that Samana went lower down on Swakas, and they rebuilt Quw'utsun to be this massive village that ran from the lake to the river, siiye'yu. And of course, Thakal Shandam was out shining. Thakal Shandam, the rainbow, Thakal Shandam, through Thakal Shaitan coming down, the sunbeams coming down, Thakal Shaitan. And it was beautiful. And we knew who rescued us from that flood. We remember even now who rescued us from that flood. It wasn't only siiye'yu's anchor on Swakas mountain. It was peat palm up there, beautiful frog mountain. And in some of the legends, the frog shrinks all the way back down and lives on the mountain. And in some of them, it remains as a mountain forever. So anytime you look up there, you see the frog. Peepalm, lemat, hata peepalm, siiye'yu. So there is the story of the great flood, the frog that saved everyone, and siiye'yu's anchor. Lock that one in your smutskan, okay? Olam namasan set.